Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a terrific day here. This is Shelly with Butterfly Effect Counseling and Consultation Center, and I wanted to come online and talk about how everyone has an alpha. I was watching this movie called Alpha, and if you have not seen it, you've got to check it out. It is absolutely phenomenal. And it brought me to mind how it's so important for us when sometimes we're not thinking very much of ourselves, or we don't think that we've got any gusto, or we're not good enough, right? We're kind of really battling with that low self-esteem, and how sometimes the good in us and the strength in us really gets overpowered by our insecurities. So as when I finished watching the movie, I thought, you know what, let me come on and let's have a discussion about how it's important for you to find that alpha that is inside of you so that you can combat that low self-esteem. So just to give you a little bit of history about the story, it's about this kid, and he is the son of a tribal leader. And every year, once a year, the tribe, there are certain members, mostly the men in the tribe, they go out and they hunt in the field, and they're going up against these big bison, right? Those big animals, right? I don't know if you know what a bison looks like, but it looks kind of like a cow, but it's not a cow. It's kind of hairy. And sometimes it can have really big horns. So this one season that they went out, and before that, there's a whole lot of training going on. They have to learn how to take a rock and really create that spear that is going to be the one that kills that animal. Sorry, I'm being kind of graphic here, but so this kid here, he's doing everything that he can to create that stone spear that is going to be pleasing in his father's eyes and do what it's supposed to do. And so they gather everybody up, and they're making this path. They're making this trek out into the field, and you can see how afraid this kid is, and how he really has a loving, a kind heart. He's tender-hearted, so he's very different from his dad, who is this strong, bloodthirsty kind of person, right? And so they go out into the field, and they're crawling along the ground. You got to track with me here. They're crawling along the ground, and it's time for them to stand up. They see these animals, and so they all jump up, and they're like, rah! And they go to attack, and the kid stops dead in his tracks. He's frozen with fear, because all along this time, he has doubted himself. He cannot muster up the courage to walk in what his dad is training him for. So unfortunately, the kid, the bison, he turns and he starts running away, and one of the bison turns around and sees him, and he chases him, and he basically bucks him, and he hits him, and the kid falls on the ground, and he turns around, this bison turns around, and he hooks him with his spear, and it's like he has this rope thing, chain, jewelry around his neck, and he hooks him, and he runs him to the end of a ledge, and this bison does this kind of movement, and the kiddo flips up in the air, and he goes off the cliff, and he lands on this ledge that's maybe 50 feet down, and Dad leaves him there. Looks like he's dead, but really he's knocked cold out. So fast forward, he wakes up. he finds his way off the cliff, and he's left there to his own devices. No one to help him. Enter in a pack of hungry wolves. So he runs and he finds him a tree that he can climb up in, and he's up in the tree, and one of the things that he does is he defends himself against one of the wolves, and he stabs him with a knife. Sorry, this is so graphic, but it's not really graphic, is it? But don't get ahead of the story. So this kid, because what's underneath this persona and this, this idea to be this leader and this strong person, what's underneath him is really this loving, kind, tender-hearted person. And he feels sorry for this wolf that is in pain. And he comes down out of the tree and he begins to work on healing this wolf. And then the story goes on, and they befriend the wolf, and he takes care of the wolf, and the wolf, of course, gets better. And then the leader in him begins to come out, and he is feeding the wolf and kind of staking his ground and putting in some boundaries when the wolf tries to come at him. He shows back some strength and, like, no. And as I'm watching this movie, I'm like, how many times in our lives when we have low self-esteem that sometimes it takes someone else that is in a worse state or worse off, or just having their own issues, that we look outside of ourselves and we look to them and we begin to help them to become stronger. We help them to become strengthened. And in the end, we ourselves become strengthened. Is that how it happens with you? Sometimes we have to go outside of ourselves and help others in order for us to see the strength that we really have in ourselves. That really was there all the time. It was just kind of masked by this insecurity. It's a really phenomenal story. It really is great. If you have a chance to watch it, I encourage you to do so. So here's my takeaway, and what I want you to get out of this is there's 3 things that you can do to work towards that self-esteem, to build that self-esteem. First thing is you got to pay attention to what are those negative thoughts. You have to pay attention to what you're telling yourself. See, with this character, with this kiddo, what he was telling himself was, I don't think I have it in me. I can't be a leader. I'm not good enough. He would take 2 steps forward in encouraging someone and thinking that he could do it, and then as soon as fear set in, he was paralyzed again, and he went backwards. So number 1, pay attention to what you're telling yourself. Number 2, sometimes you have to get outside of yourself and help someone else. Sometimes you have to look and see what's going on with someone else and ask yourself, how can I help them? How can I be of service to them? How can I maybe in some ways even be strong for them? Whatever that may look like. And what that does is it kind of helps you to see, put your life in perspective. Like maybe it's not that bad, or maybe it's that bad, but maybe you can identify in that person, that other person, how they are managing and how you're able to help them. So number 2, sometimes going outside of yourself and helping someone else can actually help you to see the strength in yourself. And number 3, think about the times when maybe you had those encouraging words, One of the things that this kiddo did was, as he was laying in the cold, was he reminded and he rehearsed what he heard his father say. Those positive things like, you can do it. It's in you. You are a leader. And he had to begin to rehearse those positive confessions, basically, is what you can call it. Especially during the times when he didn't think he was going to make it. He thought he was going to die. And as he laid there in the cold, wondering if he was going to make it another minute, he began to rehearse the things that he had heard from his father. And that gave him enough strength to stand up again and to take another step and to take another step. And I'll tell you the end of the story. Spoiler alert. He got his self-esteem. He found his self-esteem. He found his true self. That he could be both a lover and a leader. That he could be both. That he could care about others. That he could care about something bigger than himself. And still be strong enough to lead. So I want to encourage you. If you're having low self-esteem, to identify those thoughts, to do something, go outside of yourself, help someone else. And as you're doing that, notice how it's helping them, but also notice how it's making you feel inside. And number 3, find those previous things those words of affirmation, those positive ones. And if you can't find any, shoot, go find something. Get online. Go find something that has positive affirmations, something that you can take in as yourself and as your own, and begin to rehearse those and see what happens. Maybe you're at the end of your story, and I'm confident that the end of your story will be kind of like his. All right, so this is Shelley Bates here. If you have more questions, or if you would like to, if you haven't signed up for my blog, go ahead and do that. If you are interested in working with me or getting more information, you can click on the link, or you can hit the Contact Us button, and let's have a dialogue. I'd love to help you to get a handle on your self-esteem so that you can both love and lead, whatever that looks like for you. All right, take care. Have a terrific day. Bye.